Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel Pigskin Addicts, back again with another video. So this is the Charger team that we all wanted to see all season long, and I'm glad that we are finally able to see this team, and I'm glad that we are finally able to see what they are capable of. This is something that I have been clamoring for all season long. Not just me, it's been a lot of Charger fans, it's been a lot of you guys who watch these videos. We've all been clamoring for this team. We've all been clamoring to see this team. We knew the hype coming into the season. And up until this point, none of it really had materialized itself. But now, late in the season, week 17, the Chargers, they played their most complete game. And to be quite honest with you, it was their most impressive game all season long. They took care of business, right? They took care of business to the point where Justin Herbert didn't have to play in the fourth quarter. That is what I'm talking about. Now, you can never really bank on your quarterback sitting out, fourth quarters in the NFL. This is not college football. The NFL is much, much more difficult. But when you have a team as loaded as the Chargers, right, as stacked as this team is, as ready to win as this team is, I got to say, a performance like this is long overdue, but I am extremely happy that it is coming, and I'm extremely happy that it's come at the right time. Now, even though the Rams were not a very good team this season, they're still formidable, right? And formidable to the point where they are capable of pulling off some pretty, big upsets. We've seen what they did Baker Mayfield's very first game. We've seen how they upset the Raiders, right? That was a game that they had no business really being in. That was a game that they should have lost. And that was a game that really was not, expected to go the way that it did. But they have the pieces to pull upsets. And I think that was the biggest concern coming into the game on my part. But that obviously was nothing to worry about because the Chargers took care of business. The run defense was not crisp the first quarter. We all know that they gave up about 84 rushing yards the first quarter. That is something that cannot happen going forward, but you have to give the Chargers credit. They got better as the game went on. The Rams finished with 166 rushing yards total. If you take away the 84 yards given up in the first quarter on the ground, they finished with about 80-something rushing yards on the ground over the final three quarters. So that is something you have to give the Chargers defense credit for. They made adjustments when needed, and adjustments have been the issue that the Chargers really have not addressed, right? That's been something that the Chargers have been very bad at, adjustments, and it seemed to be something that Brandon Staley is really starting to take ownership of as the season has went along. And I think that has been one of the things that has really sprung the Chargers here on this winning streak. And I think it's really given them a lot of confidence. And it also bodes well for a playoff matchup, right? Being able to adjust is the name of the game in the playoffs, right? It's like playing chess. You have to adjust to what your opponents do well, what they don't do well. And it's a fluid situation all game long. You have to continue to move chess pieces around. You have to continue to make the right moves in order to put your team in a position to win. Now, I think Justin Herbert's numbers from yesterday are indicative of what the Chargers need to succeed, right? Justin Herbert has been a guy who has thrown the ball a lot in his career. And this year is really no exception, right? He's thrown the ball really more than ever in his career. He's number 2 in the NFL in most attempts. So being able to get him to 28 attempts in a game that you win by 3 touchdowns is absolutely crucial. And this should show the Chargers, this should show coaching staff, players, that this really is the formula to winning, right? Getting the running game going. Justin Herbert, 21 of 28, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, right? Very efficient performance from Justin Herbert, right? This was not one of those performances where he had to go out there and save the day. 21 of 28, right? Very good completion percentage. And obviously the 2 touchdowns, right? Those are really big. And, this was a game where he needed to come out and throw some touchdown passes. He went 2 straight games without touchdown passes. So I'm glad he got back into the touchdown category on his part. But I think the most impressive part of this Charger performance was the 192 yards on the ground. And the Chargers got that in 31 carries. So that was a very efficient and very impressive performance on the ground for the Chargers to put up that many yards on the ground at home, again, against a defense who not the best in the world, but they're also not the worst, right? This is a formidable defense. They can give you some issues, right, if you let them. But the Chargers went out. They were very, very physical at the point of attack, and they took care of business. Austin Eckler ripped off a career high 72-yard touchdown run, and, things pretty much rolled like butter from there. So this was a performance that the Chargers needed very, 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 very badly. And again, this is the team that we wanted to see. Now, last but not least, let's get to the defense. The defense has been the star, the absolute star of this winning streak that the Chargers are on. The defense has been absolutely amazing. They came out and they played well again. They held the Rams to only 10 points. Baker Mayfield, right? He's a guy who has been playing well since he arrived in LA. They only held him 11 of 19, 132 yards, right? Defense got after him. 3 sacks for 21 yards. Kyle Van Noy obviously had that big sack and that big fumble recovery as well, too. You see the defense really starting to take shape. Now, this is a defense that can win. This can win in the playoff. This defense has been number 1 in the league over this winning streak. They are giving up the least amount of points and the least amount of yards. So this defense is doing things that can win in playoff games. The one thing that is the most impressive about this defense, and I tweeted about this during the game yesterday, it is the third down conversion rate. The Chargers have done a complete 180. They were towards the bottom of the league, giving up third down conversions, right? They were giving up third down conversions at a 44% rate. That has now completely flipped to about a 16% rate. The Chargers are giving up third down conversions now during this win streak at a 16% clip. They have improved almost 25% when it comes to third down conversions. That is something unheard of. That's something that never, ever, ever really happens during a season, right? For the same team to be that bad on third down through most of the season. Then getting into the nitty gritty part of it, being the best in the league by far on third down, is something that is extremely, extremely impressive. And it's something that Brandon Staley deserves a lot of credit for. And I think you cannot discount that. That is something that's huge, that never really happens. And this is a sign that this defense was not as bad as they seemed on paper, right? The statistics, they played, some of the role, but they didn't tell the whole story. So that lets me know that this defense is not as bad. Brandon Staley has begun to make adjustments. And this is something, again, that a lot of fans, a lot of, people around the organization have been calling for. He needed to make adjustments, and that's something that he's doing now. And you have to give him a lot of credit. And most of this has been done without Derwin James. Derwin James was not playing yesterday. He's still in concussion protocol, but you have to give Brandon Staley a lot of credit for this defensive turnaround. This is the catalyst of why the Chargers are looking the way that they are looking now. There's still some things to sort out offensively. Even though the offense was better yesterday, I still think that they have some stuff that they need to, get out of the way before they can say that they are really, really running at 100%. But as of right now, this team looks ready, and they look primed to make a pretty good playoff run. So, as we know, there's one game left at Denver next week. I think the game next week is going to determine a lot, right? It's going to determine how long the Chargers starters play. I think if they go out in the first half and they take care of business, I think Brandon Staley will make a pretty, obvious business decision to rest some of the essential starters, right? Do not let these guys be exposed to injury before a playoff game, right? That really is the only disaster that you need to avoid at this point right now. But this is the healthiest that the Chargers have been all season long. Obviously, the injuries were a major concern, and they were obviously something that kept the Chargers from running at 100%. But coaching, execution, all of those things, they all had to play into it. But this is all coming together now at the right time. And this team, they look like a buzzsaw going into the playoffs. So again, barring anything crazy happening next week at Denver, I expect the Chargers to make a pretty good playoff run. And I can bet you that there's no other teams in the AFC playoff picture that want to play this team right now. Because if the Chargers are able to run the ball and they are able to get teams off the field on third down, that travels. It doesn't matter where you play. You can play in Kansas City, Buffalo, the Moon, that travels. Getting teams off the field on third down and being able to run the ball wins games everywhere. It's always won games, and it will always win games in the NFL. No matter how long you want to look forward, no matter how far you look back, it has always won games. Good on defense on third down and being able to run the ball and salt the clock is something that can work. So this is all coming together at the right time. Again, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but this team looks confident. They look ready to make a playoff run, and they look ready to kind of make up for the disappointment that happened last year in 2021, right? That week 18 game, everything on the line, win or go home. And obviously the Chargers went home. So it looks to me that they now have their confidence and they kind of have a chip on their shoulder, right? They have something to prove. They're rallying around Brandon Staley. And I have nothing bad to say about Joe Lombardi yesterday. So everything is working out now, and I'm excited to see what happens going forward. This team is a good team. This team is a good team. They have built their calluses. They're coming together as one, and this is what happens when a team unifies. When it unifies around its leader, and you have a guy like Justin Herbert being able to keep this all together throughout all the injuries, all the bad play, everything that happened, all the noise around the team. You had a guy who was able to keep it all together. You got to give Herbert credit. You got to give Derwin James credit. You got to give the leaders of this team a lot of credit. Those guys really played a huge, huge role, especially in the middle of the season. But this is what happens when it all comes together. And I'm just like you guys. I'm excited to see where this goes. And hopefully the Chargers are able to take care of business next week against Denver. And then we'll see who the opponent is in the playoff for the wild card round. But I just wanted to come on here and recap this game. And I just wanted to say this is the team that we were all looking for. And, better late than never, right? But that's all I got for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Really, really appreciate it. Shout out to all my new subscribers. Really appreciate you guys. Shout out to all my old subscribers as well, too. Again, I apologize. Being out for, pretty much a whole week dealing with COVID and the family dealing with COVID and all of that. But back now. So, we are going to get on here, talk Charger football every day. And, we're going to see what happens come playoff time. But gonna go ahead and sign off for now, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to smash the like button on your way out as well too. I'll be dropping content all week long, so you'll be seeing my face all week long. But until next time.